it's your heart. Welcome back to the Witchy Reader. So I'm going to do Halloween costumes as book recommendations. I thought it'd be interesting. A fun little video, and then if you like one of these Halloween costumes, then here's a good book for you to try that can go with it. Okay, there's only 10 on here, so it's really simple. I don't remember if I did this last year, but if I did, I know I changed some of the original costumes to fit the books that I own a little bit better. So, yeah, let's get into it. Number 1 is Cat. So this one is kind of obvious, probably. Warriors. This is Dawn of the Clans. This is, I think, the 5th arc, but it was the first one I saw, so I just grabbed it. But there are a lot of warrior books. There are over 40 the actual series, plus I think there's 14 now because a new super edition just got published. And then there's several mangas and novellas. So yeah, long series, and I don't even think they're done yet. So yeah, here's a lot of books for you if you like cat costumes, because cats galore. Or if you just like cats, period. Number 2 is Witch. So for this, I have like 3 stacks of books here. So I'm trying, and they're all mixed together. Okay, here. Effigy's trilogy. So this trilogy is about Maya, who finds out she's the next fire effigy. Because there's like one effigy for each element, and the effigies usually work separately and just defeat the phantoms with their powers. But then as soon as Maya comes forth as the next fire effigy, a dangerous foe comes and who wants Maya, or more like he wants the original fire effigy, and to get to her he has to get through Maya and all the previous fire effigies, because there's a thing called scrying, so the effigies can scry and get into their past lives, into the past effigies. So that's what he wants. He wants to get through Maya to get to his love, because he's like an immortal. But so they all have to band together to work together to defeat this foe. Not to mention, there's also the sect who the effigies, which is kind of like their corrupt government, who the effigies are supposed to work for. There are some corrupt people in that government, so they have to defeat them as well because they're working with Saul. But yeah, so there's definitely witches, because Maya's the fire effigy. Belle, who I do not like, is the water effigy. Che-Ren, who's alright, is the earth effigy. And then Victoria, who I absolutely love because she's a cinnamon roll and I'm in love with her. She's the air effigy, so yeah. Okay, next is 3 is Mummy. So this I chose Monster High, Ghoul France. There's 4 books. This is the 3rd book. The main characters, Cleo isn't actually a main character in here. The main characters are the 3 of them and Sai. He's very underrated, but I consider him a main character. Whether or not he actually is another story. But it's about Rebecca, who's a robot, Rochelle, who is a gargoyle, and Venus, who is a plant monster. And they're not the main characters in the movies, but I mean, the 2 of them were kind of a main character in that one movie. Friday Night Frights, that's the movie called, the one with the roller skating. Because they end up bringing her back and she transfers to Monster High, where it's more accepting. But yeah, the series is about 3 of them, but Cleo, who's a main character in the movie, she does have one of the biggest side roles of all the characters, so that's why I included it, because even though she may not technically be a main character, she is in a lot of it. So yeah, because she's Cleo. Number 4 is Zombie. So I chose Rot and Ruin. This is the 3rd book in the series. I think it's the 3rd. It's the first one I saw, so I just picked it up. But there's 4 books in the series. I only read them once, and that's when I was 17 because I was a senior in high school. I know in my in my reading class, I was only in the reading class for half the year because they realized I don't need it because I'm really good at English. And it took them how long to realize that I did not need a reading class, but oh well. I always enjoyed it because reading class was for the people that usually weren't great at school, so the people that usually don't like to read. But me, I love to read, and yeah, I was always in those classes because other than English, I did suck at school. English was the one class I was good at. I always bonded with my reading English teachers over reading because most people, and because since I was in the lower part of the classes, because I needed all that special help, because of that, I was really the only person the teachers could relate to about their love for reading because none of the other students ever loved to read. But, yeah, anyways, my reading teacher in my senior year of high school, she had like a little bookshelf in her room, and she allowed people who wanted to rent. It was like her own little library. If you wanted to rent a book, you can. Just make sure you read it back. I was always good at that, and I was the only student that actually cared about renting books because some of those looked interesting. This was one of the ones I read, and I think the other series I've discovered then was the Effigy's trilogy. I think it was the Effigy's trilogy. I'm pretty sure. I liked them both. I like the Effigy's trilogy a little bit more. But I finally bought these books, and I plan to reread them eventually because it has been like forever and a decade since I've read them. But it's about a zombie apocalypse. Obviously, and when you get to a certain age, I think the age of 16, you have to have a job by then, or because this is like after the apocalypse is already broke, so this is everyone's life at this point. When you're, I'm pretty sure 16, you have to get a job as get some sort of a job, income, something, and if not, then you have to become a zombie hunter. And Benny, the main character, did not want that at all, but he had no choice, so he decided to intern with his older brother, because he was a zombie hunter already, and then he thought that would be boring, just killing zombies, but he found out he was wrong. I don't remember that much. I remember Nyx. I remember her being my favorite character. Because she kind of had a bad past. Because I think she lost her mom because of the zombies or something. I don't remember. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've read it. I only read it once. But I do want to reread it. Hopefully I still enjoy it. I think I will, This is really the only series I have that have zombies in it, not including Monster High, like a zombie apocalypse related book. So, yeah. Okay, what's next on my list? Number 5 is God or Goddess. So I'm obviously going to choose Percy Jackson for this. So I've never actually, I don't even think I need to explain what Percy Jackson is about. Most people will know about it, even though who haven't read it, which include me. I've never actually read Percy Jackson. I read the first 2 books when I was in elementary school. I read them I rented them from the school library, but I always meant to finish the series, and I never did. I hardly remember the first 2 books. I remember the first 2 movies, because I actually watched them, but I hear that they are nothing like the books, and I don't remember the books at all, not even a tiny bit. But I finally bought them, and the Heroes of Olympus, and I'm excited to finally read them, because I didn't actually grow up with them. I grew up with Harry Potter, which a lot of you grew up with Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, but Harry Potter will always be my cup of tea. But I'm sure I will like Percy Jackson as well, even though it'll never surpass Harry Potter. But yeah, so Percy Jackson. I'm pretty sure Annabeth will always be my favorite character. In the movies, I loved her, and I'm pretty sure when I did read the first 2 books in elementary school, I loved her because I love Annabeth. Number 6, Warrior. So I'm choosing The Rise of Kyoshi because Kyoshi's definitely a warrior. She's an avatar. She's the avatar of the time, obviously. For those of you that watch Avatar: Last Airbender, I'm a huge fan of that show and The Legend of Korra, and I want to finally read these books. I only own the first one right now. Before I finally read it, I do want to buy the second book, but I'm really excited, I think they should make a book for each of the past Avatar. Well, at least the ones that are mentioned in Avatar and Legend of Korra, because there's been like thousands of avatars, and not all of them are mentioned. Obviously, she was mentioned a few times. So was Roku, which was the avatar before Aang, and then Juan, who was the original avatar, was had this whole backstory episode, 2 episodes, like a part 2 episode in Legend of Korra. But yeah, I'm interested to see more about Kyoshi's life. I'm pretty sure she was a lesbian because I'm pretty sure she had a girlfriend and everything, which I'm all happy about. And I'm excited to see more about her life and exactly what happened. The second book came out not too long ago, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna stop this as a duology. So yeah, I'm excited to finally find out more about Kyoshi because I'm a huge Avatar fan. And after Aang and Korra, who are my 2 favorite avatars, Kyoshi's probably 3rd. This stack of books is probably getting too big. They're probably gonna fall. Okay. Number 7, I have Devil. So I chose the Shadow Realm Chronicles because Jonathan's kind of like the devil. He's the like leader of the underworld or whatever. Yeah, there's 3 books. I plan on finally reading the 3rd book this month. It's part of my Monster High readathon. I've already read the first 2, and I'm a fan. They're really interesting, kind of dark, but I really like them. And it's about Maeve, who's a vampire. Well, she gets turned into a vampire in the very beginning, and it can be a little bit confusing, just to warn you, because of all the time jumps. But because it started out with Maeve, and then it went to several years down the line when her baby boy, because he was a baby when she got ran out of town, was now an adult and did not get along with his father because he kind of went downhill after he lost his wife. And then because he was sure Maeve wasn't Maeve anymore, he claimed Maeve was dead even though she wasn't. But I mean, in a way she was, but in a way she wasn't. And then it goes a little bit more into the future to show Alex's son, Matthew, and he ended up dying. And then it shows a little bit more down the line where his son is adopted because both him and his wife had died in a car crash, and but he has survived. And then he was adopted and doesn't even remember his family or doesn't even realize that he's part of this family. So yeah. It can be a little confusing with time jumps. Just be aware of that when you first get into it. But other than that, it is a really good read and interesting. I love the characters, and yeah. So obviously, there's the devil in it because he ends up marrying Maeve, but she ends up forgiving Hunter, and they kind of get back together before he dies. It's all a debacle. Number 8 is Vampire. So for this, I could have chosen Shadow Realm Chronicles for this too, but I decided to go with Monster High. There's 4 books in this series as well. It's a completely different series from the other Monster High books. That was Monster High Cool Friends. This one's just Monster High. And the 4th book, which is the one I picked up, is mostly about Draculaura. Like, the first book was mostly about Frankie and Melody. Even though Frankie and Melody, they are the main characters and they have a part in each book, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th also have a big part with other characters as well. The 2nd one being about Cleo, 3rd one being about Claudine, 4th one being about Draculaura, who is my favorite character. So, yeah. She is trying to stand up for monster kind because monsters and normies are finally getting along and are able to be in the same school without normies trying to kill monsters. And Draculaura and her friends have worked so hard to get to this point. But then, her dad is trying to create a monster school and so that monsters don't have to go anywhere near normies again, but Draculaura is trying to fight against it and fight against her dad because her and her dad don't exactly get along. Her dad's Dracula because he's always on these business trips, always kind of ignoring her. And then at the end they do have heart to heart, and he admits that she reminds him a lot of her mother, who is dead. Because Draculaura was I don't think Dracula was actually born a vampire like some of the other vampires. I'm pretty sure she was human first. And then Dracula, the story I heard, I think I heard it online. I don't think they ever stress it in the books or movies, but the story I heard was that Dracula, I don't remember where I heard it. I just heard it somewhere. But apparently, Dracula fell in love with this human girl who was her mother, and Dracula's mother, and then she had a daughter, but she was sick as well, so she ended up dying, and Dracula didn't know about her illness or anything, so he couldn't save her. But then he kind of starts taking care of Dracula and to honor her mother. But then he discovers that she also had the same disease, and she almost dies from it, but he ends up turning her because he couldn't lose her as well. So that's how she became a vampire. At least that's the story I heard. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but that's the story I heard. But yeah, so yeah, so they have that little heart-to-heart, which is really nice, and it's really sweet. And I love how throughout the book, Dracula was never exactly always the most confident monster, but she, especially against her dad, she was always kind of coward for him, but she started actually standing up to him, and it was awesome to see that her standing up for what she believed in. I only have 2 more, so Ghost, Skinjacker Trilogy. So this one is obviously, the entire premise is about ghosts. The very first chapter, Allie and Nick, who do not know each other at this point, and were in 2 different cars when the 2 cars crashed, and they both and then they die, and they both wake up in Everlost, which is kind of the world between the living and dead before you move on. If you're not ready to move on, if you have unfinished business, this and that, or if you're a skinjacker. Which they find out Allie is a skinjacker. Skinjackers are people who can possess the living, but that's because they have a hold onto the living still, because they aren't actually dead. They're in comas. That's why they can't skinjack, because they have that hold onto the living still. So yeah, but Nick was dead. He died instantly, but Allie has survived. There's also an enemies to lovers with Allie, which I'm obsessed with, and also, my least favorite book character of all existence is in here, which is Mary Hightower. But yeah, so it's all about ghosts. And the last one is Werewolf, and what else will I choose but Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban? I could have also chosen Monster High for the 3rd book because of Claudine, but I chose Harry Potter because Lupin, who is my favorite teacher and one of my favorite characters, is a werewolf, and I absolutely love him, and he's so underrated. Yeah, so I have to choose Harry Potter for this answer, because what else will I choose other than Lupin? Because we all love Lupin. He's such an underrated character, though, but he's my favorite professor, and I absolutely love him, and he deserves more love and recognition for all he's done. But yeah, so that is all for this video. Please like and subscribe and comment. If you want to do this video, you all can do this video, because I would love to see your answers for some of these. And that is all. Please like and subscribe and comment. I already said all that, didn't I? But yeah, so that is all, and I will talk to you guys later.